In the sleepy town of Ravenswood, nestled deep within the English countryside, a sense of unease settled over its residents like a shroud. It started with small things, a missing cat here, a strange noise there, and an unshakable feeling of being watched. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the occurrences grew more frequent and more bizarre. At the heart of the mystery was the old, abandoned mansion on the hill, a place locals whispered was cursed. The mansion had stood vacant for decades, its grandeur and beauty slowly being consumed by the passing of time. Yet, it was this very place that seemed to be the epicenter of the strange happenings. The story begins on a chilly autumn evening, when a group of friends, all in their early 20s, decided to explore the mansion, hoping to catch a glimpse of the paranormal activity that Ravenswood was now infamous for. The group consisted of Alex, a skeptic who didn't believe in ghosts, Emily, a believer who had always been fascinated by the supernatural, Jack, the thrill-seeker who was always up for a challenge, and Sarah, the historian, who had spent countless hours researching the mansion and its past. As they approached the mansion, an eerie silence greeted them. The trees surrounding the house seemed to lean in, as if they were trying to listen to the group's every word. With flashlights in hand, they pushed open the creaky front door and stepped inside. The interior was musty and filled with cobwebs, but it was the walls that caught their attention. They were covered in old portraits, each depicting a family that had lived in the mansion over the centuries. But it was one portrait in particular that stood out, a family with faces that had been scratched out, leaving only voids where their features once were. As they explored deeper, strange noises began to follow them. Doors creaked open and shut on their own, and the sound of footsteps echoed down the halls, even though they knew they were alone. It was then that they stumbled upon a hidden room, concealed behind a bookshelf. Inside the room, they found a series of journals belonging to a former occupant of the house, a man named Malcolm. As they flipped through the pages, they discovered that Malcolm had been experiencing similar supernatural occurrences. He wrote about seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of his vision and hearing whispers in the dead of night. But it was the last entry that chilled them to the bone. Malcolm wrote about how he had finally uncovered the source of the haunting, a dark entity that had been awakened by a tragedy that had occurred in the house many years ago. The entity, he believed, was a manifestation of the family's grief and anger, and it would stop at nothing until it had claimed them all. As the group finished reading the last entry, the lights on their flashlights began to flicker, and the air in the room grew colder. It was then that they heard it, a low, ominous laugh that seemed to come from all around them. Panicked, they tried to leave, but the doors were stuck, trapping them inside. It was Sarah who remembered a passage from Malcolm's journal about a secret exit. With her knowledge, they managed to find the exit and escape the mansion, but not without one last glimpse of the shadowy figures watching them from the windows. As they ran back to the safety of their homes, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they had left something behind, a part of themselves that the entity had claimed. The next morning, the townsfolk found the group huddled together, silent and traumatized. They never spoke of what happened that night, but the occurrence marked the beginning of a new wave of strange happenings in Ravenswood. The town was never the same, and the old mansion on the hill remained standing, a haunting reminder of the shadows that lurk in the darkest corners of our world. And if you ever find yourself in Ravenswood, and you're brave enough to venture into that mansion, listen closely, for in the silence, you might just hear the whispers of the past, warning you to turn back while you still can. The mystery of Ravenswood remains unsolved, a chilling tale of supernatural occurrences that continue to haunt the dreams of those who dare to listen. And as for Alex, Emily, Jack, and Sarah, they never forgot the terror they experienced that night, a night that changed them forever, leaving behind only shadows of their former selves.